War Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. In the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out smackdowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by TagMeADate. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space, now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats. I have voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.
Good pick.
But if you notice,
What do you notice, Vince?
Remix.
I've heard. Yeah, it's the remix, man. They re-recorded. The song.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Why would they make a more badass version of the song, Vince?
I mean, why? I mean, I can't imagine
Because
why
he's
they
been
could
fucking cleared to come back to the ring. Sir
No.
Randall K. Orton is coming back, baby.
What would make you think that, Steve?
Oh, I don't know. A little updated Rev Theory action. 3 days ago, I heard this and I said, this is what we open with because
Yeah,
if anyone's been listening, I got some
waiting.
people, Bray Wyatt, but it was always Sir Randall K. Orton first. So,
oh yeah.
I mean, so I'm very pumped. And from what I'm hearing, it's going to be coming anytime soon. So we got to stand by. But welcome, everybody, to another edition of the War Report podcast.
Woo.
You got Vince, Kat, Al, and Steve with you. Al, what's going on, brother?
Not much, brother, man. We're excited to be here this week for sure. Some great things going on in the world of wrestling that we must discuss.
You're not fucking kidding. I mean,
Yeah.
we got some SmackDown action. Then we got some Forbidden Door action. Yeah, I heard that too. I don't know where that was. You got some Forbidden Door action.
I didn't hit the mute button fast enough. Sorry.
That's all right.
Then you
Vin
got
Diesel
Monday
lives
night.
on my block.
Then you got Monday Night Raw. And then, of course, we have Money in the Bank this Saturday. So we got to kind of discuss our picks. So, yes, we have a lot to cover. Where the hell do we start? Do we start in order, or what do you guys want to address first?
Well, first, has everyone seen AEW yet?
I have not had the chance to watch Forbidden Door
I saw
yet,
it. It was
but
fantastic.
everything I've been hearing is that it was amazing, and people are comparing it to like WrestleMania. So,
hands down.
yeah. So, I mean, if that's where you guys want to start, feel free. We can start with Forbidden Door. Vince, why don't you start it up because I'm going to be kind of out of it a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, overall, yeah. So Amanda was there live, and she was telling us she had a fantastic time. I can't imagine what that pay-per-view would be like live. Because I mean, at least from my kind of estimation of watching the show, I called it midway through. I said this is WrestleMania quality. I was like, dare I say that it's going to be WrestleMania quality? And then that was even before you got to your main event matches. That was before Kenny Omega got out there. That was before Okada and Bryan Danielson got out there. Holy shit. Like, this is, I understand, there are people who prefer a lot more story and a lot more build up to stuff like this. But for someone who enjoys wrestling, like if you are just somebody who really likes good, long, hard-hitting wrestling matches, you gotta watch this show, man. There were a bunch of multi-man matches that were really good. The Young Bucks and the BCC one was fantastic, with Eddie Kingston in there and Takeshita in there. The opening match was really, there was an opening multi-man match that was really good. There was a four-way for the international championship, where Orange Cassidy was defending against Shibata and a couple other guys. It was just like the whole thing, Kyle Fletcher. The whole thing was just like really well done. And even like, so CM Punk came out and he played heel. Like, Toronto was not about it. And he's like, all right, well, I'm just going to play along. And, they cheered Kojima and they booed Punk, and it was like it was as if Punk never missed a beat. It was pretty cool to see him go out there and like be able to represent on a show, because Punk wasn't on the last Forbidden Door.
But it just adds to what I asked last week too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was CM Punk going to get the same reaction that he got in Chicago? Because I have a feeling it's going to be overwhelmingly heel outside of Chicago, and so far I'm right.
Well,
yeah, and that's fine too.
Keep in mind too, you got both edges of the sword per se, right? He was in Chicago, which we knew he was going to get the pop, but then he goes to Canada, where they were going to hate him because what happened with the Elite. So I guess we got to see a neutral ground, see where it goes. But I think for the most part, if you're, I haven't checked the numbers, but I dare to say AEW's numbers in Collision were crazy for the first Collision because CM Punk was there, and then follow up with the next Dynamite that he showed up right in the beginning. So I think for most fans, we do want to see CM Punk and see what he has to do on his last ride and see what he can do with it.
Absolutely.
And if he's not a babyface, that's fine too, because a lot of Punk's best work was as a bad guy. So if he wants to do that,
the same people that are booing him still want to see him so they can boo him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Keep in mind, like even when Punk was a face, like he was like just given that like Stone Cold and The Rock and these guys did, because people just loved them, but they were always anti-heroes per se, like they were always assholes at the end of the day. So
there was at least an edge to him, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's always had that edge. So I wouldn't mind, like you say, I would not mind him going on a per se heel run this time around.
But overall, we'll start off. Hold on. So I said opening, and I meant by the opening multi-man, I meant the pre-show multi-man, which was the Mogul Embassy against Chaos. That was the one that opened everything up. So just going through the pre-show quickly, that was a fun one if you like multi-man matches. Athena defeated Billy Starks. That was a nice little 7-8 minute match. Steve, I have a theory. Hear me out here. Do you remember a couple years ago when Bruce Pritchard told the story about hiring the guy? They hired the guy wrong, one-legged wrestler.
Yes.
I think they hired the wrong Starks.
That's my best now.
Like, I think NXT meant to sign Billy Starks. Like, I'm not even joking. I think NXT meant to sign Billy Starks and they signed the other girl.
That's
because
hilarious.
This girl's fucking great. LP defeated Stu Grayson. So Stu Grayson, interesting thing. Stu is back, but he's back under Ring of Honor, and he's not with the Dark Order. He's with the Righteous, which is Vincent and Dutch.
Interesting.
So I don't know why, but he is. But then the LIJ went against the United Empire. That was the last match of the pre-show. The interesting thing, MJF, being MJF, demanded that because he perceives New Japan as an indie promotion, and he doesn't like the town, all this stuff, he demanded to be in the opening match so he could go home. And the opening match was against future Hall of Famer, multi-time world champion, considered the ace of New Japan, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now Tanahashi is unfortunately on the last legs of his career and on the last legs of his damn legs. As Owen Hart would say, he's got his legs kicked out from his legs. Like, he ain't got no knees left. But he can still, he's charismatic and he can still do some of the moves that he can do. And then it was the MJF show, which is not a bad thing. It was like MJF got to work with a legend. He beat him. Obviously he had to cheat, but he had to pull out all the stops. It was one of those, it was a classic MJF, I've gotten in over my head and I need to find a way out situation. And that's the thing about his title reigns. He's going to be getting in over his head and finding a way out, like he did with Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson. Now he's done it the same Tanahashi.
Right.
He does it so well.
Right. Eventually he's going to not be able to get that. Whoever gets him underwater is going to win. But so far, go ahead, Ken.
But Stevens, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because they keep saying or whatever, a lot of the biggest complaint about it was at the Forbidden Door, like you even said, it wasn't story, it was wrestling or whatever.
Right.
I really thought in that opening match, they told a story.
There was a whole lot of story
by the freaking wrestling.
Well, but that's something I've been saying for a long time. every good match should be telling a good story. It's not just about a wrestling match. They're telling a story, even if it's a jobber. You know, like back in the day when there were jobbers, they were telling a story. The story was somebody like Barry fucking Horowitz
Right.
was going to get destroyed, but make it look really good to get the other guy over.
Yep.
So, you know, that's always been a misconception to me. One other thing I did hear too was the big, as Tara points out, Jungle Boy's heel turn.
Yeah.
And I did
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
the reaction of Taz at commentary where he says, "Oh shit."
Yep.
And then ran off into the back. So, and you know, it's funny because there's been a lot of rumblings that WWE is very interested in Hook.
I can see why. He's got a big upside.
Yeah.
He's a good looking kid. He can wrestle. I mean, he's only like a year or two into his career and he's already catching on very quickly.
And Taz is his father.
Right. And he's got the pedigree, but also I like what they're doing with him because they're doing this thing where he doesn't talk a whole lot.
Right.
And it keeps a mystique about him.
Mm-hmm.
And like he already has a nice, you know, he's a good looking kid and he's in shape and he's got all this other stuff going for him that even if his promos, which it seems like that's the thing, the promos might be his weak point. He doesn't with Taz as his father, he should never have to cut a promo until the guy Taz retires, you know?
Yep.
Right.
So that's an advantage. And I don't know, man, if I'm Tony Khan, I am doing everything I can to keep Hook because he's going to be a star. It just depends on what company it is.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about Jungle Boy now taking on a heel persona?
I'm all for it.
Loved it.
Are we?
Absolutely.
Loved it. 100%.
Because I think here somebody mentioned something. Because he's Luke Perry's son, he should do like a Hollywood Jack Perry thing. Maybe cut his hair like his dad did on 90210, where his dad's like leather jacket style stuff. Like start kind of carrying himself more like Luke Perry than Jack Perry.
Ironically, he has the same scar over his eyebrow like Luke.
Yeah, I don't know how you get that.
I don't know how you genetically get the same scar, so it would be actually pretty cool.
That's like the two Stallone boys and their mom all have that thing on their lip. I don't know how that happened either.
I have to see.
Ooh, Tara did not like the Luke Perry thing. I like that.
I have to see Jungle Boy cut a heel promo. Now on the surface, he just doesn't seem heelish to me.
Well, you have to change his name. That's why. He's
Jungle Boy. Well, he can just go straight to Jack, like Hollywood Jack Perry
or something. Jack Perry, another nickname, yeah.
And you got to change his music.
Oh, for sure. That's
I
think
sure.
that's
absolutely.
all. I think that's all coming down the pike. The reason I'm interested in it is that not that it came out of nowhere. They started teasing it with like he was being a little more obnoxious in his promos with like, you know, like Hook looked like he was going to speak. And like he's like, no, he like interrupted Hook. He's like, I'll speak for you. And he's like, I want you to be in my corner. And like the way he was kind of talking was, you know, rather than the way it was before with Jungle Hook was like Jungle Boy and Hook were like equals in this thing. And, you know, if anything, Hook was the guy constantly saving Jack Perry's ass from getting beat up. And now that it was reversed where Hook needed the help because he was getting jumped. So Jack came and reformed it. But now Jack had this attitude. So it was just in promos, just this little subtle thing that maybe they were just kind of putting out there. Mm-hmm. And then I think what happened was the crowd reaction was so strong that they knew they could do it, especially in this moment. Because he could just lose. There's no shame in losing to Sonata, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. The guy Sonata compared to the last couple of years, we had his hair bleached blonde, and he had a bleached blonde like chin strap beard. He looked awful. Sonata has cleaned his whole look up. He's changed his completely to become a main event player for New Japan. Losing to Sonata is no knock. They could have just shook hands and left. But I think they knew in that moment because the Toronto crowd was they sniffed it out during those promos. They're like, we're going to bring a heel turn out of this guy. And the crowd absolutely helped with that moment. So I think going forward, it's going to be, can Jack Perry cut a compelling heel promo? And will the audience of those other towns that aren't Toronto, because Canada is a whole other thing. So is that going to carry over? So it's the same thing that Al was saying about Punk. We got to see how this goes in Tuscaloosa or whatever. You know what I mean? We got to see it somewhere else.
Right.
But I think it's going to work, man. I think it's going to work.
Right. And see, I see Tara saying, no, that's stupid, but we have to remember two things when it comes to Jack Perry. The reason he did the Jungle Boy character originally is because he wanted to be identified as a wrestler and not Luke Perry's son. He wanted to be his own individual. Then he starts picking up the Jack Perry thing. And if anybody that's not a 90210 fan, he named his son Jack after the guy that was his father on 90210. So
interesting.
Yeah, Dylan's dad's name was Jack.
Wow.
So that's why Jack Perry. So if, like you said, I got the same vibe you did about the whole Hollywood angle thing, because the reason Jack Perry even got into wrestling in the first place was because of the diehard fan Luke Perry was. There's a SummerSlam, I do not remember what year it is, but Jack's sitting on his lap at ringside.
Right. He was the kid was very young.
He's like a diehard wrestling fan. So he all along was becoming a professional wrestler to honor his dad.
Right.
So
and he could have been an actor. And I don't think he wanted to be an actor because he's like, that would have been like a shortcut. Oh, you're Luke Perry's son, whatever.
Right.
He wanted to, like, it was very cool that he did that. But yeah, maybe
he wanted to earn this on his own. So now coming up with a heel storyline. And again, if you don't know the Luke Perry, Dylan McKay controversy of all the years from 90210, this is actually brilliant because it's going to, if it coincides the way that it's going to coincide, 90210 fan here, I'm all for it.
I would think it would be very funny if they did, you know how like the barbershop window and people had like their own talk show segments, instead of like a live in-ring talk show segment, they do like a 2-minute long 90210 scene where like Jungle Boy goes backstage and like rejects Julia Hart or something. You know what I mean? Like they do a total like teen drama, like, oh, what a heartthrob. And he just is like a total dick.
Sarah, you could say, see my point or whatever. See, again, 90210 reference. He could make his place the Peach Pit.
Yo, if he should have a new finisher called the Peach Pit.
Right.
Right.
So,
but anyway, I gotta get out of this. We gotta see what's going on with this. I don't listen.
Sorry, Steve. I know you don't give a shit. I know, but
I think we got to see how it plays out.
Steve's like, I was not a 14-year-old girl. Get me the fuck off this topic.
Yeah.
I everybody watched 90210. But
right. Yeah, no, everybody knew what you were talking about. Trust me. There is an age cutoff where then it's like Dawson's Creek and then it's like, you know,
like what Anna Jay's gonna be his Kelly. Like, come on. So here's
No, it needs to be Brenda.
Oh my God.
All right.
Boy.
So
yes.
Let me ask you a question. Because the one match everybody's talking about more than anything was Kenny Omega versus Ospreay.
Oh, that's match of the night. It's match of the year. It could be match of the decade. It might be match of the century.
What made it the best match of the century?
Everything from start to finish.
So first of all, Will Ospreay when I first started seeing Will Ospreay a couple years ago on the UK indies and then started going into Japan. He was a very tall, lanky, skinny, goofy looking kind of bucktooth English dude with this very rural accent. And he was great because he would get in those matches with like Ricochet or whatever, and they'd have these big high flying flippy do like cruiserweight level, you know, like WCW cruiserweight style matches, and they would get very good response. And he was getting pigeonholed as that. And Will Ospreay realized that he needed to do so if he wanted to move up from a junior heavyweight to the heavyweight division. He had to do not just put on weight and muscle, he had to do a lot more. So Will Ospreay, and I know he probably gassed himself up because he looks like he's on the gas, but he got himself to heavyweight. He put the time in the gym. He put the time in at the pharmacy, if we want to say it that way. But he also spent time, like, he really worked on his character, like the gear. He started wrestling a heavyweight style where you can take a lot of those big swings and a lot of those forearms, and you can go chop to chop and punch for punch back and forth with somebody, but he's still breaking out those high flying moves. And I think he's reached a peak. Kenny Omega might not be at where he was like 2 or 3 years ago when, or whatever it was when he last faced Okada and won the title at Wrestle Kingdom. He might not necessarily be there, but God damn it, he's still up there as one of the best in the world. And just the buildup of, they had one match before. It was very, very, very good at Wrestle Kingdom. Kenny Omega won. So there's an expectation now. Hey, if Kenny Omega wins, it's over 2-0. If Will Ospreay wins and wins this U.S. title, we're probably going to get a rubber match, and we're probably going to get it at All In at Wembley Stadium. So people are already buzzing about that. It is a title match. It's an IWGP title match. It's not, a U.S. title match, so it's not an AEW title. But just like from Will Ospreay's entrance with Don Callis and the security at his side, coming out looking like a star, Kenny Omega's entrance coming out looking like a star, the emotion that they put into it, I don't want to say hate, because it wasn't like they hated each other. It was that these two guys were out there competing, and you saw it in their face. One guy they both wanted to win. And when Will Ospreay couldn't put down Kenny Omega, and like he hits Kenny Omega with his own one-winged angel, and Kenny Omega kicks out at 1, and he's like, no, fuck you, I'm not losing to my own move. It was just like, holy shit. So, there was emotion to it, but also just like, I don't know, Kenny Omega got dropped on his friggin' head. They're doing flips, they're doing dives, they're doing pile drivers, they're doing tiger drivers, they're doing all kinds of shit. Like, it was just,
they mixed every style of wrestling into that match.
And then they incorporated Sean and Brett stuff from Montreal.
Yep.
They included a sharpshooter. There was a crossface. There was Canadian wrestling. Like, there were moves that the Hart family did that they were incorporating Canadian wrestling into it as well. It was almost like a short film, dude. It was like a 40-something minute match. If you could just clip that out and put that in the theater with a soundtrack, holy shit.
Who went over?
Will Ospreay wins.
Oh, let's go. Yes.
Takes the IWGP US title, probably setting up a third match, maybe an Iron Man, maybe 2 out of 3 falls, whatever it might be, nice. At Wembley Stadium, man. That's going to be a big event.
Yeah, it was an instant classic. It became one of those matches that, like, we always talk about, like, one of the best matches of all time. We say WrestleMania 3, Savage Steamboat.
Yep.
This is going to follow in that category that 20 years from now, whether it's our podcast or someone else's podcast, they're going to be referring to that match. That's just how fucking dynamic it was.
Yeah, it was wild, dude. It's worth checking out. And then, not for nothing, the main event, I know we're skipping around some stuff like the multi-man. The Elite with Kingston and Ishii against Blackpool Combat Club with Shota and Takeshita. That was a great multi-man match as well. People were saying that might be match of the night, but like, just because what the Elite can do and like the dynamic between Kingston and Claudio and Kingston and Mox, it was a very interesting match where a lot of story was told and it set up a lot of things for the future. But just as a one-on-one singles match, holy shit, it was that one. And then in another, like, this one was, so the Omega match was like 39:45. The Okada-Danielson match goes 27 minutes, 40 seconds. And that was another one that, like, from Okada making his coin drop entrance, the famous entrance that in the U.S. you don't get a lot to see.
Right. And the fact that Bryan Danielson apparently fractured his arm 10 minutes into the match.
So, yeah, he wrestled the last half of the match with a broken forearm. He's out 2 months potentially. We'll see what happens, because he's one of those guys that I feel like he would work through a fucking broken arm if he could. But Okada makes his legendary entrance, and then the lights go out, everything goes silent, and you hear and you're like, this isn't that Daniel Bryan Flight of the Valkyries. Then you realize and it's fucking Final Countdown, and everything that Tony Khan dreamed of when he was thinking about Dynamite came full circle in that moment.
Did you hear how much that cost him?
Thousands.
And it was a one-time deal, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's just for that.
Because it would cost $200,000 per time to play.
Yeah, but fortunately, so what happened is very recently, Europe, the band sold the rights off, like last week, like 3 days before this pay-per-view. They sold the rights off to a new company who was more amenable. It still cost a lot, but he was able, the last time they tried to work out a deal for Final Countdown for Bryan's debut, it was such a ridiculous number that he couldn't even pay it. At least this time, he was able to, it was something he could afford or thought was reasonable, because he could afford anything. He's a billionaire, but he thought it was reasonable, and he got it for the pay-per-view, and he also got it for any streaming replays and DVD sales. So it's not like when Enter Sandman was used and then you had to dub over it. They don't have to dub over it on the DVD and the stream, which is great.
I hate that every time Sandman comes out. It's that fucking.
It's annoying, but like so that all happens, and Brian, Danielson's coming out. He's about to wrestle the best wrestler in the world, Kazuchika Okada. He's, got Final Countdown back. The whole crowd is singing Final Countdown. Brian Danielson looks like he's having the time of his life, and he hasn't even thrown a punch yet. And they just wrestled it was just 27 minutes of hard hitting. Danielson was working on an arm the whole time, worked on the arm. And, Okada just being Okada, hitting those big drop kicks and using his size advantage and his because he's so low, he's got much longer limbs and he's much taller than Brian, and just like, oh man, they beat the shit out of each other. Was it a moonsault that broke? Yeah, it was a moonsault where Okada's like leg or knee landed right on Danielson's forearm, and you could see him as soon as it hit. It didn't look good.
Yeah,
but he kept going. He finished the match, and in a shocking twist that I need to talk about this too, because I don't like the discourse around AEW. I mentioned that last week, but I'll talk about it again briefly. Brian Danielson, in a shocking upset, taps out for only the second time in his entire fucking career. The legendary Kazuchika Okada. What the fuck? Here's the thing. I timed it out. He put Okada in a submission move where he couldn't get to the ropes for 2 minutes before he tapped out. So that's I understand why he would have tapped out if this is a real life thing. Also, if it was the UFC, his arm would have been broken about 10 seconds into it. So he was in what is considered a painful hold for 2 minutes, taps out. There's no shame in tapping out. The problem that I had was there's all these nerds on the internet that first say, oh, AEW is so predictable. I know the finish to every single match when I watch these pay-per-views. It's not even surprising. And then when something like this happens, they go, oh, why did Daniel Bryan win? This doesn't make any sense. Tony Khan's an idiot. Why would Brian Danielson never tap out Okada? Okada would never tap out. So it's like, okay, so what do you want? Do you want the predictable pay-per-view where you guess every finish, or do you want the shocking finish and then you whine about it like a fucking baby?
Those trolls will never be happy.
Yeah, it's just they continually move the goalpost, and it's like, I don't know. It's just annoying. And I think, here was the other one. And I know there's always one moment in an AEW pay-per-view that WWE fans harp on, like when that ring didn't explode and they wouldn't stop talking about it for a year. Brian Danielson, after he got his arm injured, dropped to his knees, and the WWE fan line is, Brian Danielson started faking a seizure in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, I saw that.
The trainer would come in. What? Okay, Kat, have you ever seen anybody have a seizure that looked like what he did?
Not even close.
I was going to say he fell over because he was exhausted and his arm was
exhausted
broken.
and in pain. Yeah, no. If you're going to have a seizure, you fall flat on your back and you try not one of these things. Yeah.
And you start twitching or seizing or something. He didn't see the seizure. You seize. Your body seizes. There was no done season to be had. So it was just that he fell over and the
Vince,
ref.
Don't you realize that all these trolls have medical degrees?
Oh, of course.
I mean, they're the
professionals.
professionals.
When it really happened to Kyle O'Reilly, he was making it up.
Right. My favorite one, Kat, you remember my favorite WWE Internet Doctor moment was when Brian Danielson dove out of the ring on a SmackDown or something and supposedly got a concussion, and then Wade Barrett hit him in the head with a bullhammer forearm and reversed the seizure.
Yeah.
He's reversed the seizure.
He knocked it out of him, yeah.
Because you can just put when somebody gets hit with a sleeper hold and then you slap them on the back and they wake up. It's the same thing. If you're having a seizure, you just take a punch to the face really hard.
And then you get the Hulk Hogan. Nope, I'm away.
Oh, these dummies. And I shouldn't let it get to me, but the problem is WWE fans treat AEW like this. Imagine you really like McDonald's, and you like McDonald's so much that you hope Burger King and P.F. Chang's and Domino's and every other restaurant goes out of business forever so that everyone in the world can only eat McDonald's. That's how WWE fans treat wrestling. Wrestling is a buffet. I don't want every other store to shut down. I don't want WWE to go out of business. I don't want New Japan or AAA or CMLL or any AEW to go out of business. I want everybody to be in business. It's so shitty.
I said this last week. And I'll say it again, and I'll say it for as long as I have to. If you call yourself a professional wrestling fan, then you should love WWE. You should hate WWE. You should love AEW.
Right.
You should hate AEW. You should love and hate it all at the same time, because there's things you're always going to hate. There's things you're always going to love. But if you're a fan of professional wrestling, it shouldn't matter if it's AEW, WWE, ROH, New Japan.
Yeah,
it shouldn't fucking matter. If you're a fan, you're a fan. Just because you're a fan of WWE does not mean you can't be a fan of AEW and vice versa. And those type of fans piss me off because you know what? They're not real wrestling fans.
That's like the Jets giant. It's like some Jet Giant shit.
Yeah, but it's Jets Giant shit is if you're a Jets fan and you want the rest of the NFL to go out of business. So everybody's a Jets fan.
Vince, I'm sorry. I got to cut you off.
No, please.
Breaking news. We have our first comment of the day from David Roscoe.
How's it going, David? Let's go Expos.
Trish Stratus will win the women's Money in the Bank in England and cash in on Rhea Ripley for the women's world champion. David, thank you for checking in. I just want to say I just finished putting this together, so we might as well jump in since David wants to talk about Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and I don't hate that. I don't hate that either.
No, I think we're all kind of had to have that in the back of our heads. That because then that can also set up Trish and Becky going around a couple more times, especially if she like screws Becky out of getting the briefcase. You know what I mean? So and then she goes after Rhea, and then like there's a whole thing. So I feel like the
minute they announced that this puke Zoe Stark was going to be in the Money in the Bank.
She's got a
And that's so funny. I just posted that Draws thing today.
I saw that, yeah.
Since they made it official that she is in it along with Trish, there is absolutely no way Trish is not winning the Money in the Bank.
Right.
Zoe is going to be the reason that Becky doesn't win, and Becky and Zoe are going to have their match at SummerSlam.
Yep.
But Trish is going to win Money in the Bank. David Rusk is right on the money.
I disagree.
Ooh, all right.
She did, not me.
Bottom? Oh, I can't wait to hear
that. Vega to win.
All right. Now, hold on. Let me ask you a question.
Huh?
I don't necessarily have a problem with Zelina Vega winning, just to be clear. But I have to ask you this. Forget about who you want to win. Forget about who you want to win. Who do you think is going to win?
I hope anyone but Trish Stratus.
But realistically, you know in your heart that it's going to be Trish.
I'm a minor. He can't hurt
me. Oh, my God.
David Rusk is a huge fan of Trish Stratus. Since 2000, Trish Stratus is awesome. David, I agree. Trish Stratus is awesome. I would actually rather Zelina Vega win over Trish. I to be honest, but
I've been saying that.
But realistically,
Trish is going to win.
It's Trish,
right?
Yeah. If Trish wins, I'm never watching.
You got to remember too.
Oh bullshit!
You got to remember too. This is the one thing in Trish's career she has not done. She's never even been in a ladder match ever.
Oh wow! I thought maybe she'd be in a Money in the Bank.
Okay, then maybe she might.
They didn't have Money in the Bank.
Or not Money in the Bank. I mean, just a regular ladder match and not a Money in the
never.
Bank.
Most women didn't participate in ladder matches.
I didn't know.
That's true.
I didn't really know that either. But they talked about it on Raw last night.
It's an interesting statistic.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And when I heard that, I said, "Okay, here we go." I said, "There's no way now."
Trish still evening gowns and pillow fights back then. So
and barking like a dog.
Thank you, Joey Styles.
Freaking guy.
So, all right. So everyone's pretty much in agreement. Then our pick is going, with the exception of one, the winner of the women's Money in the Bank is going to be Trish Stratus.
He convinced me.
Okay.
We turned on him. So, is it unanimous?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So there we go.
Sadly.
All right.
I mean, honestly, if it's not her, I think the only other thing would be
Vega.
Vega, honestly, she would be the only other one. I don't see nobody else really winning.
Whoever wins, honestly.
Because I definitely don't see.
Be okay with Zoe Stark winning.
She's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. See.
Ew, no one likes her.
That's why I'm saying.
She's the Goldberg of the women's division. Sorry, she's the Goldberg of the women's division.
All right. See, now I would call her the Dana Brooke, quite honestly, over and over.
Dana Brooke was just on NXT.
And she sucks.
It's better than Eva Marie.
All right, that's
Well, better
fair.
than Eva Marie. Yeah.
Well, I mean, all right, yeah, I can't argue that. Eva Marie is worse. But Dana Brooke is a close second.
When NXT doesn't like you, man, like you know you're bad. Like
Yeah, right.
it's pretty bad. Like
Where is Billy Starks? Is Billy Starks third worst?
Who?
Okay, exactly.
So moving on. The men's Money in the Bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta go with LA Knight. It's either gonna be, to me, it's either LA Knight or Damian Priest. I'm going with LA Knight.
I want Logan Paul to win so bad, but I don't.
Oh my god.
I love Logan Paul. I am a Maverick. I've been a Maverick since 2015. Okay?
You're dismissed.
No.
Yo.
Listen,
A
I've been
Maverick.
an
I
advocate.
didn't even
Let me
know.
say this. I've been an advocate of him since he came in. I never
Yeah,
shit
he's
on
great.
him, and I've been supportive and behind him. I will say this though. He did nothing to earn his spot in this match.
Well, no, but that would
And
be
that's
heel
my
heat, huh?
problem.
all I'm
They
saying,
should have had him in a match or something to at
One
least
qualifier.
I'm
Right.
gonna tell you this much. All I've been hearing is that Triple H is gonna shock people with who the winner is going to be. And I
Yeah.
will not be shocked if that freaking kid walks out of there with that fucking briefcase. Because it wouldn't shock me. Like just to get people
No.
pissed off, bro.
Because you can. He doesn't have to. Here's the thing, though. He doesn't have to win it and keep it.
Exactly.
There's so many stipulations now where he could put.
No,
he could win the Money in the Bank and then he could
I
lose
can't
it.
be a part of this.
He could lose the briefcase to LA Knight at SummerSlam or something. I'm not saying it should happen.
He cannot. He cannot.
Yeah, I'm just saying don't knock it because
You
I'm
can't count
knocking
him
it.
out, bro.
It-
You
it-
can't count him out.
I'm
Yeah,
knocking it. It's
I'm
got to
with
be.
Steve
It's
on
got to
this.
be
I agree
Damian
with
or it's got to be LA Knight.
Damian
It's gotta
Priest a
be.
good pick too.
Yeah.
See, the problem is LA Knight has so much organic support behind him that I feel like they're going to be like, well, this is too obvious,
Right.
Yeah.
and then swerve.
That's the
you know?
problem with him. That's what I'm afraid about LA Knight because I
The
want him
problem
to
with
get
LA
it.
Knight is that he's at an age too where, like, if they're gonna put the rocket in his ass, they got to do it now.
Yeah.
He's
And
at
right
that
now,
DDP age.
he's organically over. They even tried for weeks to not acknowledge the and try and like.
Right.
You know, and then it was just this past week where the commentary finally was like, listen to this crowd. Like now they're talking it up, like they're starting to push the needle. And that's why I'm going
Well, that's good.
that, but it's like, if you're going to do something with LA Knight, it's now.
It has
you got
to
to
be
pull
now,
the trigger
right.
because the crowd is there.
Right.
He could be your biggest top guy right now. He could surpass Cody Rhodes.
100%.
And that's your top
Wow.
guy right now.
Wow.
No, 100%.
What? Wait a minute. wait a minute.
But
wait a
you
minute.
got to
What?
do it now. Absolutely.
That's not too far. That's 100% accurate.
No, it's not. I
Wow.
completely disagree with that.
You're in love
That's
with Cody
big.
Rhodes, so
You're
that's
dang right he is. He's hanging up on my wall. Why wouldn't I not be?
I
in love
love
weren't you
Cody
just in
Rhodes
love
too,
with
but I'm
Logan
just
Paul?
saying, like, LA Knight is getting the crowd to a point where he can contend with being the guy.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just want to see another Logan Paul Ricochet spot because Ricochet's
you will.
Money in the Bank. So
Oh, you will. I
You
mean,
will.
now there's a ladder too, so Logan's going to pull out some stupid shit. But
And so
that
fun.
may be what cost him the match because he'll
Right.
do something, like Jeff Hardy used to do.
Crash
then-
and burn. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I'd love to see him at the cell phone on top of the ladder.
But so
that'd
we'll
be
see.
great.
But it should be a great match. I mean, I
Definitely.
will say that. But it does bother me a little that Logan Paul didn't earn a shot.
And it would have been really easy to put him in a 2-minute match.
Tara, hold on. If Logan wins, then my brothers will kill me because I'm gonna break my fucking phone.
All right, we're gonna have to start a GoFundMe for Tara's phone.
Tara's phone.
And David Rosca, Gunther will surpass Pedro Morales 19 days as current Intercontinental Champion.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
I agree with that also.
Yeah, I feel like
He's becoming one of my favorite heel Intercontinental champions of all time.
Of all time. Yep. I'm with
Well,
you.
now they're saying they're trying to make him the new WrestleMania opponent at WrestleMania 40 for Roman Reigns next year.
that
I
would
And
can
be,
I'm
get
not
behind
mad
that.
about that.
I
Not a-
wouldn't be mad at that.
I
all.
could get behind that for sure.
but so here's the thing: we're talking. So the update for Gunther now, I guess, as of Monday, is that Riddle is facing him at SummerSlam for the is it Money in the Bank or SummerSlam for the Intercontinental Championship?
It's
I think it's at SummerSlam.
SummerSlam.
Okay, so we got time to
Oh
promote
no.
this.
No, it's right now.
It's at
No,
Money
it's
in the
coming up.
Bank.
I was
No,
just
it
going to
is
say,
at-
I'm looking on Wikipedia. Hold on a second. I'm on
Right
Wikipedia now. Yes, Gunther versus Matt Riddle is on there for the IC title.
They made it official last night, I believe.
Right. So this ties in. Matt Riddle facing Gunther ties into the music we played at the beginning of the show. I feel like Gunther and Imperium might get our boy Matt Riddle in trouble a little bit, and he might need a little backup. And who's better backup than the Viper?
Yeah, except he RKO's Matt Riddle.
I was gonna say, but then he turns on Matt Riddle. Yep.
But he could, yes, and he very well could. Because I was also trying to think, how else do we get? How do you get the title off Gunther, and then he, for him to be going on a WWE Universal or whatever Unified Championship run?
Bring back Edge. I miss Edge.
That's easy.
Yeah.
But he just his caliber of what he's done over the last amount of time with the title.
What I'm saying is, how do you have him lose though? Like, does he lose?
That's a tough one.
How does he get beaten?
But a loss now in June of 2023 isn't going to make that much difference in April. All he has to do is win the Royal Rumble.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if we do it now, if we get this loss out, like if it
Gunther's
turns out
not losing to Riddle.
Correct.
No, I don't think
even if he did take that loss, it's still an irrelevant loss going into 2024 because all he has to do is win the Rumble, which I would say, especially after the performance he just put in at the last Royal Rumble, Gunther can go a long time in the Rumble. That would be freaking awesome.
Gunther's incredible.
But so I guess what I'm just saying is, do you have him go into WrestleMania against Reigns as the IC champion, or do we have?
No, I think
we're not doing another
who beats
Hogan
him between now and then? Who beats him?
That's the question we can't answer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, it was the same thing with Roman Reigns right now. Who beats him?
Cody.
But you think Cody takes the IC title from?
No, what I was gonna say is maybe you could put it on Edge because Edge needs some form of a title run before he leaves.
And that is kind of his title.
I think Edge wants a world title. I don't think.
I agree, but I don't think that's where we're heading.
Cody Rhodes wanted a world title too. You see what happened then.
Just don't make it Dominic.
I wouldn't mind seeing Dominic as IC.
Could you imagine Dominic?
That'd be great.
I love him though.
Great.
I should bring back
Steve, how many times have I told you they need to put a strap on Dominic? You're like, come on. I'm like, I'm telling you, the heat this kid got is like you saying LA Knight right now, right? LA Knight is so hot, you need to capitalize on that. They need to do everything possible to keep that heat on Dominic. And if you make him an IC champion, that'll be awesome. And
he's not wrong.
And
the heat he's got is crazy.
Gunther, like
the only strap Dominic Mysterio needs is a strap on.
If he gets to brag about that, think about that. If he gets to beat the biggest dude in the yard.
It's so hard to laugh at that.
I know. I'm just looking at the jellyfish in the background.
You're watching me. That's
it is a nice background. No, dude, I don't know, man. It's so tough to call stuff,
Talking about a strap.
Well, it's early too.
Far early. But Dominic, I almost wish they'd bring back the the European title for Dominic, but make it like comically small. Or like the light heavyweight championship, but it's so tiny around his waist. Like
the 205 title.
Yeah, something funny for him to wear. Like, I don't know. I think it would be so funny for him to have a title that wasn't necessarily very prestigious, but he treated it like it was the world championship.
So Bria's got the women's championship prestigious belt, and he's got the little itty bitty belt. That would be pretty.
Right, he's got like a little teeny light heavyweight championship, or like a little Dundee trophy from The Office or something. I don't know.
That'd be good.
He wins the Slammy, and he's like Owen Hart. He carries the Slammy around. I don't know. It's got to be
2-time Slammies. Yeah.
He can't have he can't win the world title. He needs to win something shitty and then treat it like it's it's like he drives a Toyota and treats it like it's a Lexus or something. You know what I mean?
So he wins the women's Money in the Bank.
That'd be
we were talking about that.
Oh. Somehow
and another statistic, by the way, that I
cashes in on Rhea.
Another statistic I found interesting. They mentioned last night. All the cash-ins, the women's are 100% in cash-in wins.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's new.
I didn't realize that, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
100%.
All right,
That
so
might be
we
legit.
got Cody Dom. Obviously Cody, right? I mean, there's no question there.
Yeah.
Unless Brock shows up to set up SummerSlam.
That's what I was gonna say. I think to keep this common man trend thing going, I some way Dominic wins this match.
Listen, Al, you wanna keep the heat going on Dom Dom, have him beat Cody at some.
Oh,
Money in the Bank.
absolutely. Because then that. Oh my God! Imagine the next Monday.
Oh my God!
But because it almost seems. I like that idea because in my head I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is almost too obvious. In reality, if you're looking at people's like Dragon Ball Z power levels or whatever, Cody going against Dominic should last about 37 seconds and end with Dominic's head somewhere in the 8th row. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just shouldn't. It should. So absolutely, unless there's complete shenanigans with Judgment Day coming in and Brock coming in and whatever. Maybe Damian comes out and Edge comes out to neutralize him, but then Brock comes out and lays out Cody. I don't fucking know. But yeah, unless it's just a very standard Cody must pose kind of squash match,
Man,
we might see Dominic get the W here, folks.
I agree with that.
I've officially got Dom Dom.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I might have convinced myself of Dom Dom also.
Yep. I can't lock it in yet, but I'm leaning that way.
I've been calling Dom Dom for about a week and a half now.
Has he answered you?
What else we got?
Yeah, I DM'd him in 2020, okay?
I guess the answer is no.
He must have never seen.
Well, at least he read it.
I know. I said I like his glasses because that's after Brock F5 him.
Oh, you should probably turn 18 first before you start DMing.
I was 12, okay?
All right.
Doesn't help your case very much.
Right. I mean, it's good on him that he just left it unseen.
Yeah, but minor, yep, swipe.
Thank God that he's not a creep. All right, good.
What else we got?
Seth Rollins defending his new World Heavyweight Championship against the guy who technically never lost the very first Universal Championship, Finn Balor.
I'm having a very tough time with this.
Me too.
Because initially I wanted to just react and say there's no way Seth Rollins is losing already. But I got to tell you, the build that they're giving Finn Balor and the 7 years and the whole connecting the stories together, one of the things Eric likes the most. I'm starting to lean towards Finn Balor, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going Finn Balor on this one.
May I speak?
Ask them.
May I speak?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, yes.
Okay, so I think Finn because I feel like this might, I don't know, like I was talking about mom about this, but if Damian Priest wins the Money in the Bank and Finn wins the title, Damian's obviously not gonna try to cash in on Roman. That's just stupid. We all know he's gonna lose that, so he would have to cash in on Finn,
which would break up the group.
She's making very, very good sense right now.
I know. Autumn has common sense about wrestling. School and boys. No.
Wait a minute. Did Autumn just talk about herself in the third person?
Yeah, pre-AP English class.
Goodness gracious.
I have a 99 in that class. Just saying.
Oh, well, you have a 9. So, all right. So after all that, I liked the thesis statement of your essay. What's the conclusion?
Actually, on my zoo essay, I got a 93 out of 100.
All right. So on this particular essay, what's the conclusion that you're coming to with the finish of this movie?
The conclusion is Finn Balor is going to win, and however, Damian Priest will cash in on Finn Balor.
Immediately or down the line, it's like SummerSlam?
That I have not gotten to yet. That is in part 2 of the essay. We will come back to that after.
Right. We'll come back to that, but that's a good start.
It's a woman's prerogative to change her mind. So good. Stay there.
Yes.
I am really having a tough time. I'm really leaning more towards Finn Balor, but then the other part of me, I feel like Seth just got the belt, so I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I don't know how you take the belt off Seth right now after all he's been through the last few years.
Right.
It's too early. And I do like Finn, and I like what they're doing with him, but I agree, a little too early for that. But I love your thesis. That was great. Like you got me now thinking a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely thinking it a little different now too. But I will say this: the other side of it, you could have Finn lose.
They're in England, also. Just saying.
But then Finn.
That's true. They're overseas.
Very true.
The crowd could be on his side.
See, it all depends too when they do the men's Money in the Bank. Like, is that going to be the main event, or is Because if Finn loses, I could see him then like showing up in the Money in the Bank match.
So here's the order they have it.
Oh, you have the order?
I mean, I don't have the order. I have the order that's listed on Wikipedia, which 9 times out of 10 is pretty accurate. But again, this is card subject to change.
Wait, let me guess. They're going to open with the women's Money in the Bank.
No, they actually this list starts with the men's Money in the Bank.
Oh no shit!
Really?
Who knows? Yeah, but again, this is not official. It's just on Wikipedia. But it's this is the way they have the 7 matches in order: men's Money in the Bank, women's Money in the Bank, Cody versus Dominic. See, this is why I think they're just putting it in like the order that might have been announced. Because I wouldn't put Cody and Dominic after 2 Money in the Banks.
I would probably open.
And you don't put them back to back either, I think.
Yeah.
Right. You wouldn't put the Money in the, so maybe it's probably one of the Money in the Banks, Cody's match, then Seth's match, and then the other Money in the Bank. Because the
main event is going to be Usos and Roman and Solo. There's no way.
They have the Intercontinental Championship listed as the main event. And in my head, if the world title's not being defended, it should be the main event. But I also know Roman Reigns is the fucking draw and the Bloodline's the draw. So that's going to be the main event. So this list is not in absolute order.
Well, maybe not necessarily because Gunther's pop in England might be huge.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody's there to see this Bloodline thing.
There is no way Roman Reigns and the Bloodline are not getting the main event.
100%, but I'm saying I don't know necessarily if they would start with put the Intercontinental Championship match so early in the card in the night either because of the pop that Gunther's probably.
No, it'll probably go towards the end of it because
I think you have to either open with one of the Money in the Bank matches or you open with Charlotte, Asuka. And you got to.
I don't have Charlotte Asuka on this list. I have Ronda and Shayna defending their tag titles against Liv Morgan.
Yeah, Charlotte and Asuka isn't on this card.
That's not happening.
No,
yes,
that's
that's Friday. That's Friday.
Oh, they're doing it on SmackDown. You're right. Okay, my apologies.
So are they going to end up having another match? Are they going to end up having the women's 3-way on the pay-per-view?
Yo no say.
Only because it would make sense to me on Friday for this World Championship match to end with Bianca somehow sticking her nose in the business and setting up a 3-way for the pay-per-view.
Well, I don't know about that, but remember I said to you, the way I think this is going to go down is Bianca, this is where she turns heel. Bianca's going to cost Charlotte the match, and then that's going to set up the Bianca-Charlotte feud, which is then going to keep Asuka safe as champion.
Away from,
And then maybe she'll start something with Io or, whatever. But right now, that's got to be the play. And that's how you get Bianca's heel turn going, and then you're off to the races. But that's a feud I'm excited for.
Yeah, it could be real good. They're all so athletic, those girls. You know what I mean? They're just so athletic. I think Bianca and Charlotte are going to match up pretty well, cardio-wise and all that. So like I said, there's another one on here for women. The aside from the women's Money in the Bank, the other women's match of the night is Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler defending their now unified women's tag team titles against Liv and Raquel.
I'm sorry.
Side note, just real quick. Mm-hmm. That Elba Fire, whatever the other one.
Those two girls. Yeah.
They impressed the hell out of me against those two on. SmackDown.
Yeah, they're good. They're real good.
Real good. Although I wasn't surprised with the outcome.
Oh, no.
And as far as the match, I can't see Ronda Ronda and Shayna losing, so I got to go with them.
All right, so the only one we haven't talked about yet is our main event, or what we assume will be our main event. What they're calling the Bloodline Civil War Tag Team match. You've got the team of the now free and single, living their best life. Got my her did yes queen Usos, Jimmy and Jay. They're now all the single ladies. They're free. So they're gonna. I wanted to say as many things as I could to see what Autumn's reaction was.
She just dropped her phone when you went.
I love that.
She just went. You're canceled.
I love that.
Anyway,
we got the Usos. They are free from the Bloodline. They are out. But
So
they're facing the remaining members of Bloodline, Solo Sikoa and our champion Roman Reigns.
I have a few different takes on this one. I'm also hearing that they've written 2 or 3 different finishes and they don't know which way they're going to go.
Of course,
yet.
they have.
Of course.
But here's kind of where I'm at. On one hand, I feel like you can't have Jimmy and Jay lose as their first big match out of the bloodline, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because you're in a situation where Roman doesn't have to be the one to get pinned. It can be Solo again. But then on the other hand, should Solo take another loss, I don't see Roman being the one. I could see a Fugazi finish or maybe a new member to the bloodline costing Jimmy and Jay. So I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place. I don't know which way to go yet. I feel like my gut says in the end, Roman Solo are getting over dirty. But
I disagree.
why am I not surprised?
Right.
So what's your opinion?
Normally I'm disagreeing with him all night, so it's nice to sit back and relax and watch someone else do
Yeah,
it.
if it's not one, it's the other. So go ahead, Amanda. What's your take on
Amanda!
it?
No.
Oh,
Wow.
See-
That's the other A name.
You know what?
You just aged her like 15 years.
I
I
turned
did.
15 in September. Thank you very much. I'm 14. You met me when I was 7. Just
oh my
want to
God, it's been that long.
Wait,
Yep.
you're
Carmelo Fun Party.
Yeah.
You remember that?
You're
I
turning
do.
15, did you say?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
trying.
she'll be 15 in September.
Oh, wow. Well,
It's
I don't know if you
amazing.
know this. That's in September. But on May 13th, 2002, Trish Stratus won her second women's championship in her hometown. That is
Oh my God,
Trish-
I love it.
that's a
That's
Trish
so
Stratus
funny.
fact brought to you by our good friend from
David
Canada,
Roscoe.
the land
Congratulations.
of
Do
tundra.
you want a medal?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
don't
he
start
wants
talking about
Nadia
medals. They'll start
Comaneci.
bringing up Nadia
What's that?
Comaneci's medals.
Did you just ask me what Nadia Comaneci was? The gymnast.
So Al,
Don't
what do
get
you
David
think?
started.
Oh, why
Don't
did
get
you say
Steve.
not? Why didn't you just say Nadia?
Because her whole name was Nadia
Oh, okay.
Comaneci. Now answer Steve's question.
What do
Okay.
you think's gonna happen?
So I think that the Usos are going to win, and Solo will 100% be taking the pin, because then this is going to lead to more friction between Solo and Roman, because there's already a little bumpiness there, because his brothers just left. So
I don't know. I feel like that's going to stay strong for a little while longer. I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
that they're going
I
to
feel
jump
like-
the gun on that.
rumor
What do
has
you
it
What do you guys
don't-
think?
I don't
I've been seeing a lot about that.
I can't see Roman Reigns losing again for
Okay.
some reason. Although it would make sense based on just to show more holes in the bloodlines as they're tearing apart more and more as we see. They could and they can, so I'm gonna say they will, and I'm gonna take the risk and go with the new bloodline, which is the Usos, simply because of that. Because I'm torn with Solo still. Like I don't know where he's
Yep.
coming from.
I don't like Solo.
You know what, Al? You got me thinking about something. What if this becomes bloodline versus bloodline? There's a lot of Samoans.
Tamina!
You start bringing in your own, and you have your own separate bloodlines.
Right.
And this war
Like the
Is
Wolfpack
like-
and the
is
I was
NWO.
going to say, it's more than
this is the new thing for the rest of the year. The war of the bloodlines, or
You know,
something like that.
This November, you know that War Games, Bloodline versus Bloodline.
That's a true story.
I mean, look, that'll be awesome.
Make me a
The great thing about that, it will
How
be
many more kids do
like
you have?
it's like
Oh.
learning from when the NWO started. If you think about it, right? What was their problem? They put too many members that made no sense,
Well, the
and
whole
they
roster
watered
wound
it
up being
down.
the
It
NWO.
was crazy, right? Like half the wrestling room was NWO. So
Right.
like this bloodline has been so tight for so long, and now you just add a couple of individuals, and it's gonna make it that much bigger. I think like overall, you're like, oh my god, now we got all these other chapters. That how long can this go? And
Right.
now you start questioning like, how long can this guy really hold this belt? Because like again, who's gonna take it off of him? Like it just gives him that much more value to his reign too.
Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like these Uso kids got to they got to win this one. Like in my head, I'm like, obviously you can't bet against the Tribal Chief, but especially in tag matches where there's this other guy that can take a pin, and you just had them split away from the bloodline. Like if they
Right.
lose, they're kind of just back to being guys. If they
Right.
win, then I feel like we're all kind of circling around the same conclusion that Solo might take this pin, and it might not necessarily cause tension or immediate split. It'll cause tension, but it won't cause an immediate split between Roman and Solo. But
especially since the Usos lost the tag team titles at Mania.
Right. So
in their tag team matches, they have been on a losing streak.
And whoever wins, whichever one of the Usos gets the pinfall, I think challenges Roman at SummerSlam.
Yes. Jay.
Main event Jey Uso, baby. Let's do it.
I love Jay. I have a big crush on Jay.
I've heard so far you love Logan Paul. You love Jay. You love Cody.
I'm more in love with Jay than any of them.
No, you're in love with Bad Bunny.
No, I'm in love with Rhea Ripley, okay?
Oh, good God.
Well, I mean, everybody's
in
in love
do
with
you want to
Rhea
hear
Ripley.
what my quote is for Pride Month? I'm gay for Rhea Ripley, and I say that with pride.
There was a great sign at a house show that said, "We're here to see Rhea Ripley."
Oh shit!
Diarrhea. That's perfect. That's
Diarrhea Ripley. It was hilarious. And the picture I saw was Rhea like seeing it. It was hilarious.
Nice.
And on that note, we're at the top of the hour.
Yes, sir. We seem to be liking these late nights. I think the fans seem to be enjoying the late night shows. We've got 5-6 people hanging out tonight. Thank you for hanging in the chat. I've been seeing that number stay consistent all night. We might just stick with this thing. We'll have, like I said, I think we've kind of talked about it. We might be leaning that direction, man. I don't really have a problem at all with doing it this time of day. Yeah. So stay tuned to our social medias if there's an official, whether we do that, hey, temporary special time announcement, or whether we do a whole, hey, we have a new time announcement, just keep on our social medias. The easiest way to do that is to go anything at TagMeADate. That's TagMeADate, no spaces. If you look on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or wherever you're going, you're going to type in TagMeADate for the most part. YouTube, it's the same thing, TagMeADate. You go to the YouTube channel where we do stream live, formerly 6 p.m., right now 9 p.m. Eastern time. We stream live on that YouTube channel. You go to youtube.com, type in TagMeADate in the search bar. You'll see our channel. Hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you get notified when we go live or when we upload a video on that channel. If you prefer other live streams, we also live stream on Facebook. I think that's where a lot of people get it. We're also stream on Steve's LinkedIn. We stream on a live stream on Twitter, and we also live stream on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/War Report. That's the only one that's different. Everything else is at TagMeADate. Twitch.tv is twitch.tv/War Report. That's all one word, WARREPORT. And the last thing I want to remind you of is to visit our podcast app if you prefer. Like if you don't listen, if you don't like watching the videos, you don't want to go back on, because you can go back on the YouTube, you can go back on the Twitch, you can go back to whatever app you want to go back and watch past shows and restream them. But if you prefer an audio version rather than the video version, then I would recommend you go to your favorite podcast apps such as Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, etc. You're going to look for TagMeADate, or you're going to look for the War Report, and the podcast will come up. When you hit subscribe, it's going to bring the podcast right to you, usually within the hour of us going off air. Ryan is really pretty good about getting it taken. He takes the audio file from the stream and then puts it up on the podcast thing and hits the button. Once he hits the button, it gets delivered to everybody's phone via, if you have notifications, or if it just, you have it set up to subscribe, it just uploads right there. To your tablet, your mobile device. You can take it with you on the road, in the car, doing laundry, working out, eating dinner. If you're having a rough time on the toilet and you just need to squeeze out those last few bars, tune in to our podcast. Hopefully we can ease your way. And if you're on the toilet now, buddy, you got this. Don't push too hard. That's how you get a hemorrhoid. But I think that's going to wrap it up for us. We're going to be back next week. I think we're going to be back on at 9 p.m. We'll just stay tuned to the social media at TagMeADate. Last thing I just want to remind you guys of course, share the stream, share the link, share the podcast subscription app link, whatever it is, share the YouTube. If you're having fun and you're enjoying the show, share it with your friends. If they love wrestling, they'll fit right in here. They can join in the live chat and drop facts about Dave, like David does, drop facts about Trish Stratus. You can send in your opinions. Like Tara joins in on the conversation, lets us know when she's up or down on something. So, and then questions, if you have questions, you can submit them live as well. So, we encourage you, if you're listening, if you have a friend that likes wrestling, spread the word. And we'll be back next week. Like I said, I believe we're going to be back 9 p.m. on Eastern time. Just stay tuned to our social medias. We'll let you know for certain. We really appreciate you all tuning in. These late night shows have been a lot of fun, and we hope to continue the fun next week, guys. So we'll see you next week. Have a good